Welcome to the MLMsuccess.com podcast, the show designed to return the network marketing industry to its roots of personal growth, leadership development, and wisdom of the ages success principles. We share with you real success stories from real people that we hope will inspire and encourage you personally and help you progress forward in your business and your life. We believe if you build people, people will build the business. Now here is your host, who has been called the number one mind in network marketing, the MLM prophet, network marketing virtual mentor, and a host of other names that we will not mention because this is a family show. Frankly, he's just a small town guy that figured out that the real product in network marketing is people. Dale Calvert.
Hey, this is Dale Calvert. I'd like to welcome you to this session of the MLMsuccess.com podcast. I appreciate you being here. Today we're going to talk about a really hard look at the network marketing numbers. This is probably going to be part one. I hope those of you that are listening to this podcast at the time it's being dropped, I hope you're having a great summer. If you're listening to it 3 years from now, in the middle of the winter, I think this content will be very evergreen and will apply years into the future. Dawn and I have been to Las Vegas, back to Georgia and Kentucky, and then back to Georgia since the last time we talked. So I hope you guys are having a great summer. We had the opportunity in Las Vegas to meet, many of you, Wendy and Dan, Russ, Gordy, Kelly, Marilyn, Doug, and Dr. T. Who else? I hate to start naming names. Kamisha, Maria, Tony and Daphne, Glenn and Karen, and many more of you guys that are regular listeners to this podcast. It was a pleasure being with you guys in Las Vegas. And again, I just hope all of you are having a great summer. We're going to take a break from traveling in August. My next speaking event will be in Orlando in September. If you're in the Orlando area and would like to attend, you can shoot me an email at mlmsuccesspodcast@gmail.com. It is a company-specific event. It's not open to the general public, but I can get you in the door, at least for my training, if you'd like to attend. I understand that most people that listen to podcasts really do so as much for entertainment purposes as they do to learn. And they don't really like to be challenged, and I get that, and I understand that. But this session is challenging for me, and I believe it'll also be challenging for you. And I really don't want you to miss what I want to share with you here, because there's some nuggets, there's some things that need to be internalized that will make a huge impact the rest of your network marketing career. And I don't want you to miss this. So I know a lot of you listen to this podcast passively, and then maybe you might go back and listen. I'm going to encourage you to really listen to the best of your ability, and this is going to be one that you probably want to go back, listen, take some notes, because as I've said many times, the teaching is in the words, but the learning is in the silence. The teaching is in the words, but the learning is in the silence. So we're going to take a hard look at the numbers. When we talk about numbers in general, numbers are what they are. 2 plus 2 is 4. You can argue about it from now to the cows come home, but 2 plus 2 is 4. There's no emotion in numbers. It doesn't matter if you believe 2 plus 2 is 4 and you think 2 plus 2 is 7. There's no emotion in numbers. And the numbers don't lie. So before we go any further, I really think it's important that this is common sense. Yes, it is common sense, but we're living in a world today where common sense is not as common as it used to be. The numbers are the numbers. There is no emotion in numbers, and the numbers don't lie. And I hope you agree with that. If you want to know how you're doing in most areas of life, then all you really need to do is simply track your numbers. Let me say that again. if you want to know how you're doing in most areas of life, we're not just talking about business here, then all you really have to do is simply track your numbers. And I sincerely believe that most people avoid the numbers in most areas of their life. They would rather try to fudge the numbers in their own minds, which over time can only lead to various forms of self-delusion. Fudge the numbers in your own mind so you can end up in a state of self-delusion. I mean, really, who wants to actually count calories or pay attention to the speed limit or hold themselves accountable when they say they're going to read 2 books a month? I remember years ago when I decided that I was going to read a book a month, and this is coming from someone who I don't really recall throughout my high school years reading a full book ever. Now, when I was young, I was an avid reader when I was very young, but I decided, years ago on my continuous personal development journey that I was going to read 1 book a month. And I knew the only way I would possibly be able to do it was make a list of 1 to 12, put it on my goal board where I had to look at it. And then as I read a book, I would write down the title of that book. I actually found that first form like that I did probably back in 1981 is when I first did that. And I remember I didn't like it at the time either, holding myself accountable. And again, nobody wants to track, the time the number of hours they spend each week on entertainment, whether it's watching cat videos on YouTube or reruns of Barnaby Jones or whatever it might be. Nobody wants to track their numbers and be on a financial budget. So it's sad. It's sad, and it's true that people, all of us, don't want to hold ourselves accountable. It's been said that the truth will set you free, and I believe that. But I believe the quality of our life is in direct proportion to the quality of questions that we ask ourselves and then answer those questions truthfully. If more of those questions in our lives were centered around the numbers in our life and our business, I believe we would all operate better businesses, enjoy every day that much more. So what numbers can you track right now in your business, in your life, that would ultimately serve you well? And I mean, we're in a podcast and we'll keep on talking, but that's an important question. What numbers can you track in your business, in your life, that would ultimately, when it's all said and done, would serve you well? What are those numbers that you could track? And I really believe, as it relates to entrepreneurs and network marketers and numbers, here's where people get off track. And this is important, and I want you to think about this not just from I want you to think about this from an emotional, psychological standpoint. And I really believe this is where people get off track, because common sense is that which can be documented, can be improved upon, that which can be tracked, can be improved upon. I mean, that's pretty common sense. If you can track something, then you can possibly improve those numbers, and that which can be documented and tracked can be improved upon. But what happens with network marketers and a lot of entrepreneurs is they start looking and tracking the results instead of the activities. They track the results instead of the activities. How much money they made, how many people joined, how many people bought, and so on and so forth. And I'm not saying that how much money you made, how many people joined, how many new customers joined your organization doesn't matter. It absolutely does matter. It matters. However, I believe that most people have a challenge getting into a consistent rhythm in their business because they're more focused on the results instead of the activities. They're more focused on the results instead of the activities. So they go into the marketplace for a day or 2, 3 days, 5 days, 6 days, 8 days. They're doing the activities, and maybe they're not getting the results that they had hoped for, so they quit doing the activities. Again, I think this is a real rub, guys, and it's a mindset. It's a mindset. Human nature is to focus on the results. How much money, how many people. But that's not what's ultimately going to create success. Consistent effort doesn't always create consistent results, but it always creates success. You can take that quote to the bank. Consistent effort doesn't always create consistent results, but it always creates success. It's called the law of averages. You know, if we stop and think about it, network marketing companies wouldn't even really need us if this business model was consistent. And this business model is not consistent because the real product is people, and people are very inconsistent. People are very emotional. They're not real logical. They're very emotional. You know, a lot of people have joined you and then 3 weeks later forgot the name of your company and forgot what they joined. They don't even remember what the charge on their credit card's for. I mean, that's the world in which we live in. So early in my career, I got real with myself about how inconsistent I really was in my business. I was like most people that join this profession. You know, I was emotionally charged. I mean, after I saw residual income for the first time and understood what this could do, it's like, why would anybody work a week and get paid, and work a week and get paid, and work a week and get paid, and then they stop working and they stop getting paid when they can create residual income? This is the greatest business model I've ever seen. It's phenomenal. I'm going to have a Porsche in 90 days. I'm going to get wealthy. I'm going to become a millionaire at 20. And, you know, all the ignorance on fire thoughts I had, like most of you when you first joined this profession. And then reality sets in. Number one is people lie. Number two is the work ethic, and for most people just stink. They're consumed with entertainment. You know, back in the day, it was we had to get people to turn off the daggone TV set to, you know, build their business. And most people are so unfocused, undisciplined. It hasn't changed. A lot of people say, well, Dale, it's worse now today in the internet. And maybe from some standpoints, but really all that's been, all that the social media world which we live in today has done has revealed, in my opinion, what's always been there. It's just been more hidden. But, you know, I would go to an event. I would get so excited, go to a weekend event. I was with a huge company, been around 25 plus years when I started. They'd already been around, so they had weekend events within 3, 4, 5 hour driving distance of me, at least maybe, you know, every 90 days, sometimes, you know, 2 months in a row. So I would go to an event. I'd get so fired up, I'd leave, and I'd work really hard for 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 days. And then I would lose my excitement, lose my momentum, lose my focus. And I'd have to wait till another event roll around, and then I would go to that event and just repeated this pattern over and over and over, which we've all seen happen if we've been around this profession any time at all. It's very predictable. I cannot tell you what one person will do, but I can tell you what 99 out of 100 will do, and that's the way most people that's the environment in which most people live in network marketing. They go to an event, they get fired up, they get real bold and active for a short period of time, and then they sit around twiddling their thumbs, watching cat videos on YouTube, waiting for the next event to fire them up again. You know, I love Zig said early in my career, he said a lot of people waiting for somebody to come around and fire them up. What if they don't show up? True motivation must come from within. But let me stay on track here. So after a couple of years, I said, you know what? Enough is enough, Dale. Enough is enough. I'm sick of being an emotional yo-yo, up and down and up and sideways, and let me do a loop-to-loop. And then I decided that I'm going to start tracking my personal numbers every single week. Every week. I wasn't going to be concerned with the results, only with two things: activity and consistency. That's my only goal. Be active, be consistent, track my numbers. That decision made a huge impact for me, and I can't even begin to explain what that mindset shift did when I started not worrying about the results and started worrying about and focusing on the consistency. It enabled me to get into a rhythm in the business, a consistent rhythm. We worry too much about the results at a level that we have to get past this, because see, I know as I'm sharing this with you guys that you understand that this is 1000% true. People get paralyzed worrying about the results. And because of that, they never get into a consistent rhythm of doing the activities that produce income over a period of time. Again, consistent effort doesn't always create consistent results, but it always creates success. So, because it made such a huge impact for me, I made tracking weekly numbers with, we've called it originally a company report, a weekly progress report, and various names. But I made tracking weekly numbers part of the culture of every organization I've ever worked with. Some of you listening to this, worked with me personally on our team, 30 years ago. And, you could tell everybody that, yes, the weekly progress report was an important part of the culture. It's never left. It's always been part of what we do, part of what we teach. And those that work with me today will tell you the exact same thing. There's not a company or organization that I've ever consulted for or worked with, over a few months where the weekly progress report was not implemented. And this is real important. The next word I'm going to say, where it was not implemented and monitored for feedback. Monitored for feedback. Leaders, don't miss that phrase. It's not just about implementing a system or a program. I mean, companies are notorious in this profession for constantly introducing new programs and new this and new that, to the point where it just burns people out. And the reality is 95% of the time it's not monitored. And what we have to do as a profession is get down to where the rubber hits the road, what really is going to make an impact for people, and then implement and monitor it. Does that make sense? So I was able during this time to get from my head to my heart something that if you've listened to this podcast at all, you've heard me say 1,000 times, and that is this formula. Take it to the bank. X number of people contacted equals your reasons fulfilled. For you to get to where you want to go with your company, with your opportunity, there's X number of people that you're going to have to contact for that to happen. If you want to leave your full-time job and you need to get to $4,700 a month or $7,300 a month or $2,182 a month or whatever your financial number is, For you to get to that point, the reality, the bottom line reality, for that to happen, you're going to have to expose a certain number of people to your product and opportunity before that's going to become a reality for you. I don't know what your number is. You don't know what your number is. If we did, it would be a whole lot easier business model. But I don't know what your number is. You don't know what your number is, but we both know the law of average dictates that you have a number. X number of people contacted equals reasons fulfilled. Those of you that are in our MLM training club or that we've ever worked with one-on-one, we talk about how Jim Rohn, the law of averages, the audio CD that he has, and how that made such an impact. And a lot of you, I've shared with you, look, I need you to not listen to it, but to memorize it. And I know many of you listening to this podcast have memorized that CD. If you put that CD in today, you know what he's getting ready to say before he does. You've memorized it. And you know the impact that has when you memorize that concept, the law of averages that he talks about, and you get it from your head to your heart. See, we're in a world today where people are headline readers, are just looking at they're listening to a podcast one time. They're not getting, we have information overload. We have more access to information than we've ever had in the history of the world. And we are not taking the things that really make a long-term difference for our life and our business and getting those concept ideas, principles, not just as a cool quote, but we're getting it from our head to our heart. So let's take a look at your numbers. Let me ask you first of all, how long have you been involved with the network marketing business model? And some of you say less than a year. Some of you it's been, less than 5 years. Some of you it's over 5 years. Some of you it's over 10 years. Some it's over 20, 15, 25. A lot of you have been around this profession, been involved with this profession for various periods of time. So the next question I would ask is why are you building your team? Really, why are you? What do you really want? Why are you building your team? And if you can't tell me right now your top 3 reasons, boom, 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 then I would tell you that you're probably wasting your time, that you got to get real with why. Well, Dale, I just want to make more money. Dale, I just would like for this to happen. Dale, I just like my upline. Dale, look, why are you really doing this business? And I would ask you, are you a business builder or are you a social club member? Are you a business builder or are you a social club member? A lot of people start out as business builders, and over time, before they know it, they wake up one day and they realize, this is just a big social club for me. I just like hanging out. I've got a title, Dale. I'm a Triple Crown ambassador with a cherry on top of it. If you hang around long enough, maybe that will happen. But I would ask you sincerely, right now, today, at this time and place in your network marketing career, when you're listening to this audio, why are you building your team? What do you want? What do you want to accomplish in the next 5 years? And I didn't say the next month, because you can't control the results. All you can control is the consistency and the activity. Man, I hope you're getting this. I hope you're getting it. So what do you really want from your business? I can tell you, if you've ever listened to me, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, the only reason I'm even doing this podcast today or have ever had any success in this profession is because I had to get to $5,000 a month so I could get out of IBM back in 1980 when I started. I wanted to know how it would be to feel to drive a brand new car that I did not pay for, drive off the lot, because I would never do that because it's a bad investment. But if somebody else will pay for it, I'd love to have a new car. And I wanted to know how it'd be to take my family to Hawaii. And if it wasn't for those 3 reasons, I would not be talking to you today. You're either focused on the why or the work. So let's just turn up the heat just a little and thy own self be true, guys. It's just me and you, on this podcast. I know we have people listening all over the world. I don't know where you are. Maybe I've met you. Maybe I haven't met you. I don't know your answers to the next couple of questions I'm going to ask you, but you need to know. and you need to get real with them, whatever they may be. How many team members or customers have you enrolled in the last 30 days? What about the last 60 days? The last 90 days? Let's really get real. How many team members or customers have you personally enrolled in the last 6 months? You know your number. Some of you say, I'm rolling. And I know many of you are that are listening that you're rolling. You're doing fine. You're rolling. But if you've been around 6 months and hate to even think this, but if it's possible to have been around the last 6 months and you haven't enrolled a new customer or a new team member, then I would tell you you're bordering self-delusion world. And I say that with all the love in my heart that I possibly can. I'm not talking bad about you as an individual, but you got to wake up. So whatever your numbers are, wherever you are in the world, I would ask you, are those numbers, wherever they are after 30 days, the last 90 days, the last 6 months, are those numbers going to take you where you ultimately want to go? Are those numbers going to take you where you ultimately want to go? If nothing changes, nothing changes. Einstein said the definition of insanity is to continue to do what you've always done the way you've always done it, expecting different results. Einstein said it. So if those numbers are not palatable for you, I would ask you today, what are you going to do about it? Not your upline, not your company, not your sideline. What are you going to do about it? And as I say this, and look, guys, I remember you talk about this sincerely is harder on me than it is on you. Personally harder on me because I overcommit. But I don't let anybody down. I will do whatever I have to do. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. If I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. And if not, I'm going to let you know. And I don't waste 10 minutes in a day. From the time I get up, I'm going. And we have multiple projects, multiple things, multiple business, things that we're working on all the time, every day, all day long. And I love it. I love that. I love being in that rhythm and that routine. But, Dawn and I have at least one date night a week, usually 2 or 3. We will go and have a pool day. I enjoy every aspect of my life. I will go to Kentucky and just focus on family, nothing else. I figured out what works for me. But again, as life progresses, things change. I mean, it's different at different points and times in your life, depending upon your ultimate goals. What are you really wanting to accomplish? Life is not a practice session. You got to make the most of every minute of every day, whatever that means for you, And if it's hanging out with your friends, playing video games, 20 hours a week, then cool. If that's really what you're looking for. My commitment and dedication has never been to a particular business model. It's only to people. But I know after 35 plus years in this profession, it hasn't changed. There are people that have been hanging out in the network marketing business model for 5, 10, 15, 20 years and longer, that the only way it can be described by any logical thinking person is they've been hanging out in a state of self-delusion. And say, well, Dale, that's just harsh. You shouldn't say that. Well, if it wakes one person up that's been around for 6 months and hasn't launched their business yet, or been around for 4 or 5 years and hasn't recruited one person or one customer in the last 6 months, if I can wake one person up and say, look, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Are you documenting your numbers? What the heck are you doing to thy own self be true? Then it is worth it. And if it really bothers you, then if the shoe fits, wear it. I believe a big part of the reason that a lot of great people, lovable, great people, have never got in the habit of the rhythm of network marketing and what it really takes is because they never were taught or never implemented if they were taught. And I'm speaking to people that have been on my teams over the years now. All I can do is share. I can't implement. You know, what's that saying about bringing a horse to water? But anyway, they've never gotten the habit of consistently tracking their numbers. Now, I'm not one of those. I obsessively track. And I have to be true to myself as well. And you know, I understand that wistful regret, and I'll probably do a podcast on this. I thought I had. I went back and I looked. I couldn't find anything. But wistful regret is a real important concept. I know I've written an article about it at MLM Help, but I know it's a real thing. And there's nothing that bothers me more at this point in my life. It's always bothered me, but at this point, than great people, great upside potential that just never get in the rhythm of what it takes to get through the numbers, to get where they want to go in their business. You know, it's heart-wrenching sometimes. And again, I was on the emotional yo-yo for a couple of years, up and down and down and up. I mean, I've been there. And I know what deciding to track my activities and my consistency and forget my results, what that meant for me. I understand it. So I want to share with you a couple more things, and then I'm going to let you go. There's two main things that tracking results did for me when I got in the habit of tracking my numbers. What happened over time, I started to realize, Dale, if you can set 8 appointments a week. Now, understand, guys, this was before the internet. It was, okay, but the internet did not eliminate the law of averages. The internet did not eliminate the law of averages. Okay, it didn't. See, today, when I talk about one-on-one appointments, it really comes down to how many people have looked at your online presentation about your product, your company, or both. Okay, that's really what we're talking about here when we're talking about numbers today. But back then, it was all about sitting around somebody's kitchen table or meeting them at a Denny's, and it was about one-on-one appointments with a flip book. I quit doing flip books the day VHS became, the day that there was more people in the United States that had VHS video than those that didn't. And I've talked about that in previous podcasts, so don't go off track here. But my goal was, when I started to understand this tracking your numbers, my goal was 8 appointments a week scheduled. 8 appointments a week scheduled. That was 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Thursday, 4 on Saturday. 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Thursday, 4 on Saturday. 8 appointments scheduled a week. And I knew if I could schedule 8 a week, that would give me 32 schedules a week. And out of that, I could complete about half. I mean, people would actually meet me at the Denny's. I walked in many homes, sit down, and they won't turn off the TV set while I'm sitting at their kitchen table, and I've walked out on people and said, look, I wouldn't work with you even if, I'm not working with you. I would ask them politely, could you please turn off the TV set, because what I'm getting ready to share with you is very important. And, you contacted me because you said you're worried about layoffs at your company, and you're looking for something to do on the side that you could work and could develop over time to a full-time income. So can you please turn off J.R. Ewing or Barnaby Jones or Steinfeld or whatever it was that they were addicted to? And if they wouldn't turn it off, I would get up and walk out in a heartbeat. I don't want to work with those people. So my goal was to schedule 32, complete 15 appointments, because I knew if I could complete 15 appointments a month, I would enroll 5. I would enroll 5 people. And you've heard me say it 1,000 times. It's as true today as it ever was. If you can get your skill sets and your mindsets to a point where you can consistently, in your activities, where you can consistently sponsor 3 to 5 people a month, you will control your own destiny with the network marketing business model. I'm not talking about sponsoring 37, or I have a podcast, I talked about how I sponsored 117 people in 7 days, which is true. But if you haven't heard it, I'm not going to recap it, but you can go. It's here at MLMsuccess.com. But that's not success. 30 people in 30 days doesn't mean anything. The secret is to get skill sets, mindsets, activities to a point where you can consistently sponsor 3 to 5 people a month until you're ready to semi-retire. 3 to 5 people a month until you're not going to do it anymore, and it never stops. Well, Dale, I can't sponsor that man because I have all these people that I'm trying to work with. No, you have a bunch of social club members that you're doing all the work for. You don't have future leaders. You have people you're just trying to keep on auto ship one more month. And so you'll never have, if you sincerely have more people than you can work with, you're trying to do everything for everybody, and you're working too much. You're just working too much. 3 to 5 people a month, you can control your financial future. If, there's one caveat, if you know what to do with people after you enroll them. And that goes back to how do you help people launch. It goes back to the 5 core fundamentals that I know many of you have heard me talk about over the years. It's not just getting them in, it's getting them in, keeping them in, and helping them get launched and helping them move their business forward. So that's the number one thing that I learned from tracking my numbers is, Dale, if you can schedule 32 appointments a month, you'll complete at least 15, 16. And if you complete 15, 16, you're going to enroll your 5 people this month. And you'll control your financial destiny. And we did. So that's the main thing I learned. The second thing is, it's the number one leadership tool that you'll ever have is a weekly progress report. So when we first started doing this, it was a physical piece of paper that people would fill out. It's a weekly event. Now they do it online, as many of you know. But even those that do it online, I tell them to print theirs out so they can go back and put them in a 3-ring binder so you can go back and look at February, look at March, look at last October, look at your numbers, monitor your numbers. So I encourage people to print their company report, put it in a 3-ring binder. And a lot of times people say, Dale, I'm having trouble with this, I'm having trouble with that. And I'll say, get your binder and call me. And when we look at the numbers, there's no emotion in numbers. The numbers are the numbers. The numbers don't lie. And if you're really sincerely going through the numbers and you're not getting the results, then you have to tweak what you're doing. And so we might have to role play. We might have to go back through the scripts that we provide. We might have to go back through, tell me exactly what happened here. I've even had people said, look, I want you to record the next 15 phone calls and send me the audio. I've had people, so again, most people don't need tweaking. But if they need tweaking, we can do tweaking. And as a leader, you can as well. But what most people need is they just need to get through more numbers. They're not getting through, they aren't getting through any numbers. So do they not know how to generate leads? Did they not launch their business when they started? I mean, again, all of this connects, guys. It's all sequential. And if you miss HIJ in the alphabet, it's going to mess you up down the road. If you miss pieces of the puzzle, then you have to sometimes go back and restart. And there's so many people that have a lot of pieces of this puzzle, but they don't understand how it all sequentially fits, and that it's all about the development of people. If you build people, people build the business. There's no product or company that's going to make you successful. There's no comp plan that's going to make you successful. 100% of zero is zero. It's about the skill sets, mindsets that you develop over a period of time. And again, develop, not that you enter it with. So tracking numbers with a company report, a weekly progress report, should be part of every culture in every company. People don't do it. They don't duplicate it. It's just they don't. But if you want to set yourself above and beyond, first you have to do it for yourself. As you've heard me say, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, then help others. You got too many people trying to teach people how to do that, which they've never done. This tracking your numbers will make a huge impact for you personally if you do it consistently and you're focused on it and you're not doing it just because your upline expects you to do it. Granted, many people on my teams over the years did it reluctantly because it was part of the culture. But many of those people will tell you, look, if I hadn't tracked my numbers, I would have never progressed in this profession. So again, it's easy to tell people what they want to hear. It's hard to tell people what they need to hear. It's easy to just, fudge your own numbers. But it's not smart long term, in my opinion. I hope that you'll create a culture of personal accountability and law of average progress. Law of averages progression, because the law of averages works for everyone. I hope this has tweaked your mind. I hope you'll go back and listen to it. I originally thought, this is probably should be part of the No Fluff Network Marketing Podcast, because it's kind of more advanced. It's something that I wish all leaders would hear and implement. If you want to forward this to your leader, I would appreciate that. And it can make an impact for your entire team and organization. I know that. Implement it. Again, it's not just about rolling something out. It's about the monitoring of that which you roll out, which I talked about earlier. But if you're, just getting started, or maybe you've been around 2 or 3 years and things haven't really ever clicked, you've never gotten to your rhythm, and you're trying to get into a rhythm with your company and your product, monitoring your numbers is something that cannot be neglected. Again, I've taught it for over 30 years. I've watched what it's done for people. I've dealt with more than my share of people. Yeah, I don't need to do this. I got my, and they never understand. It's not about you, my friend. It's not about you. If you're going to maximize your income in this profession, your long-term upside income potential, then it's about developing other people. And most people are going to go through, the 27%ers are going to go through what I did, what they all did, the emotional yo-yos of this business, until you can get into a consistent rhythm your skill sets and mindsets to a point where you can recruit 3 to 5 new people a month. You can control your financial destiny. That's how you win this game. If you'd like to see a copy of the company report that we're using, this is a private website. We don't make this public. It's not for public viewing. It requires a username and password to get in, but you can go to the front page in the bottom. You'll see it's a highlighted link that says Weekly Progress Report. Don't try to get in to this website, because if you do, just please don't. And I don't. And now I'm second guessing myself on if I even want to share this with you, but I will. You can click on the Weekly Progress Report button, and you can see what we're using for a Weekly Progress Report currently. And again, this is submitted online every week, and I monitor and go through every one of them every single week. But just to give you a clearer vision of what I'm talking about, you can go to D, and that's spelled out A-N-D, and then another D. It's for Dale and Dawn. DNDteamtraining.com. I think it's on the right-hand side. You'll see a link that says Weekly Progress Report, and we just got it set up that way so people don't have to actually log in to access the report each week. I hope this guy has given you something to think about. I appreciate you more than I can express to you. Thanks for your kind words and your support. I hope this has really spoke to you. I hope that you'll think about it. And more importantly, more than anything, knowledge without action leads to self-delusion. I hope you'll take some time and really figure out what numbers you need to be monitoring in your business and your life. And if that makes sense, figure it out and make an impact, positive impact for yourself and your family. This is Dale Calvert. Thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you next week on another session of the MLM Success podcast. All versions, all episodes are available also online at MLMsuccess.com. Thanks, guys.
If you haven't gone over to iTunes yet and rated and left this podcast a review, what are you waiting for? At Calvert Marketing Group, we want to spend our time on the projects that we know are providing the most value for our clients and customers. You leaving us a review and feedback on iTunes is something that helps us more than you realize. And more importantly, it helps others like you find us. So if you've not taken the time to rate this podcast, please go over to iTunes and do that for us now. It will only take a couple of minutes out of your busy schedule. Work harder on yourself than you do on your business, and we will be back next week with another inspiring success story, wisdom of the ages training, or answers to your questions.